అణు అణువున నాదం నా పంచ ప్రాణాల నాట్య వినోదం నాలో రేగే నిన్నో హంసానదే రాగా.
I want her to be the best. Someone very big.
షడ్యమస్వరూపధరం మనిషం నమామి ऋषभस्वररूपधरं मनिषं नमामि गान्धारस्वररूपधरं मनिषं नमामि मध्यमस्वररूपधरं मनिषं नमामि पंचमस्वररूपधरं मनिषं नमामि दैवतस्वररूपधरं मनिषं नमामि निषादस्वररूपधरं मनिषं नमामि समस्तस्वररूपधरं मनिषं नमामि समस्तस्वररूपधरं मनिषं नमामि
Namaste and welcome to Shri Srini Prabhala garu. He is the director of the film Shrikaram, which won high prizes at Indica Pictures Short Film Festival, dedicated to Shri K. Viswanath garu. Namaste and welcome to this conversation.
Namaste, Aparna ji.
Yeah. First of all, your film, is on a theme that's pretty disturbing for all of us who have been engaged with the music world. Of course, it's been like 3-4 years since the Me Too movement, swept across the Carnatic world, shocking all of us. So, what made you take up this theme, and how difficult was it for you as a musician to deal with it?
Thank you. First of all, thanks for doing this session and really appreciate roping me into it. I completely agree with you. I think it's a very hard-hitting and a disturbing theme, just because for most of people, Guru is put on a pedestal, and the team, and we expect people who always talk about God's name, sing Tyagaraja Kritis, would be pious or divine, whereas this talks about the challenges of a girl's journey with a guru who had other intentions, evil intentions. So it is a hard theme, and it was in my mind I was quite disturbed by the news, and over a period of time, I collated a lot of information. So not to just reading, not intentionally or anything. So there is somebody in US who wrote a thesis on women in Carnatic music and some of the challenges they were facing. Then there are, of course, people like Chinmayi, Sripada, and others who compiled stories about 70-80 girls across the globe, including US, who had such experiences in gory detail, large thesis. So I read through that just in awe, and it was shock, and saying, how come there is nobody talking about it, and should we be doing something about it? And no better than film is a good media to bring in such a subject and take that. You bring up also an interesting point that me being also a professional musician, to take up such subject is a complex thing and a little bold attempt, because it has implications on what does it mean. People would talk, but I thought after a lot of deliberation, this is a story I have to tell. So I read through all of that and did a concise analysis on what happened in such situations and build a plot. The story is fictitious, not targeted against anybody, but for that matter, but to bring that dynamics, but also cover different aspects of not only the Me Too movement, but about the aspects of how parents are pushing more for fame, name, money, or rather than for art's sake, which is K. Vishwanath Garu's core. prin- uh, principle and theology. So I thought, take that up. So that was the motivation of taking it up.
Yeah. In one of our chats, you mentioned about his film Saptapadi, and where he took up very themes which at that time would have shocked society. But none of his villains were so evil that they could not be transformed by their connection to tradition. Tradition always found a way to bring out the best, even in characters that had a negative role. But in yours, there is no reformation possible for this guru. So is that a commentary on our times and on our society, and is it a commentary on how the music world is currently today?
I think we are living in complex times where we are seeing worst of crimes and social challenges. And if any, the situations have changed. I'm not saying any comment about deterioration at all. It is a different world. So I feel K. Vishwanath Garu covered complex situations, complex villains. We had Adiseshaya and Shubhalekha who will go any extent, beat up the supporters, bring in goons. So he did, or we had villain in Shankarabharanam. So he had strong villains, but his stories, I feel, were, in all humility, were not typical like what Ramesh Sippy or others would do, where there's a strong hero and a strong villain. Um, type thing, which is what in my writing classes we were always trained. You build that dynamics, the conflict, the plot point. I think they were very simple at heart. But the problems he took were very extremely complex. So we thought, if when I was brainstorming this story with our core team, we thought, if he was alive, he saw this, would he keep quiet? He would not. He took up complex things when people questioned Saptapadi, where he had to, where somebody gives away the daughter or granddaughter to somebody of a different caste, even though she's married. That's a super bold story. So for a traditionalist to break out. And so I feel that being a diehard fan of K. Vishwanath Garu, I said this story should be told. This story has potential because it is Indian culture soaked. It is about a girl wanting to pursue Indian music, nothing more than that. And there, he did deal with complex gurus, jealous gurus like Swati Kiranam, but this is a different angle to it. Uh, and also bring in the fact that merge the aspect of parental pressure on people wanting to pursue art forms, which is also a different challenge layered in for against the girls' goals. So I wanted to bring in those two dynamics.
Right. And
So in all, I feel we live in complex times.
mm,
Villains are becoming, yes, unredeemable, unfortunately, because people are walking away. But I wanted to show that the tradition wins, and you don't have to succumb to it. You don't have to give away your core values. I like my character Harini because she didn't go and do some satyagraha or
mm,
took goons help or anybody like that, or build some physical skills. Just through her talent, she fought back and proved her place. So the story plot will show, if you have watched it or others, they would see that we followed K. Vishwanath Garu's path in the
yeah.
fight.
So today, we have some musicians who make us believe that they are, in the forefront of emancipating Carnatic music. Without taking names, they talk about how, Brahminical society dominates Carnatic music and has not allowed people from other jatis to come up. But K. Vishwanath Garu probably was a far more genuine equalizer in the music world. He took up these issues boldly, did not disparage the tradition at all. See, we don't have to support any particular jati by putting down our tradition. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I feel I feel without naming anybody, I think some people are taking pride in being controversial for controversy's sake without understanding the core of how the art forms have evolved or our tradition has evolved. It is sad that such people are getting a lot of forum and people are listening to them. But leaving them out of this picture, I feel that there is a lot to our arts which have survived over years, and about certain castes dominating. I wanted to tell a story about when I learned music. My close friend was a Christian who did not have one parent, single mother, lived very close. He always wanted to learn Carnatic music. So he asked me once, "Hey, you're going to that teacher, can I come once?" And because he lived in his life, we were just about 12. So, but he would talk very mature. So he came with me and told, "Auntie, I don't have any money, but I want to learn." And I remember that my teacher, who was a Brahmin, to bring in the caste, she said, "Oh, sure." And he told, "I don't have any, my father is not there, I can't pay." She said, "I don't care, I didn't ask you money." So she took him, and actually she taught for 4 years. And one thing she told us, "Watch out, I will teach you a lot of Ramakrishna because Indian music is like that." He said, it doesn't bother me. So he learned. Later, he didn't pursue Carnatic. But so there are teachers like that who are not bound. And I know for sure that she never charged him. Uh, so it's not money. It's not, she really wanted to support somebody's passion. So there are great teachers like Saman Chambai and many others who have broke that bonds. So I don't think that is the boundary for music. People are welcoming. There are opportunities for everybody. My guru used to say, if talent is like sun, you can't stop blocking it hand. If you're really good, you will break it. If you're not good, then try to become good. That's the only. So I that's my strong opinion about that topic.
So being a musician, how what was what influenced your choice of music? As we know, while Vishwanath Garu used traditional classical compositions, he did not use necessarily use them as they were. He adapted some of them to fit the scene or fit the theme of the film. So what did you do to make sure that your music is in sync with the story that you're conveying?
Um, I think that's actually there are two dimensions to your question, if I understood you right. Vishwanath Garu did an enormous service to, if service is too strong a word, maybe to bring in classical music and classical lyrics to films. He even had new songs which lost their tunes, like Annamacharya tunes in Shubaleka and others, Neyyamunello, Innirasula Uniki, and many others to forefront by having Mahadevan Garu tune them. So many new revolutionary steps, and also brought traditional songs to film. And I don't think if anybody else ever did that as much as he did. So we have to give him that credit. I think classical music has so much to offer. We have had literature from 650 years, starting with Purandara, Annamacharyas. Most of the tunes are lost. There is nothing they have already talked about, which is being written by people like now. Annamacharya wrote Appuleni Samsaramaina Patichalu. So don't borrow credit or things like that even then. Brahmamokkate, many other things like that. And not to mention Purandara. And then, and it evolved over Tyagaraja and others, Shivudavo, Madhavudavo. He was saying that only there is one God. So people like that have covered already. Unfortunately, that was lost. The challenge to the next point of what you are saying is that a lot of the lyricists, musicians, and the makers unfortunately have very limited knowledge of our literature, our values, what Indica pioneers for. I think they should get some training from you guys seriously, because they have no understanding of what are already there. If you have no, you don't understand the taste of sugarcane type situation, they don't know what it has. That is one challenge. So there, in terms of lyricists and writers, in terms of musicians, many are trained with modern skills. I also got trained with modern skills, keyboard, jazz, or other techniques, which makes sense. But their knowledge of Indian art forms or Indian classical arts is very limited. The raga-based knowledge, let's say there are 72 Melakartas and each of them have about 10 or 20 Jenya Ragam. Let's say there are 1,000 Ragam. Their knowledge would be very, very limited. I'm not saying to put anybody down, but the fact that their appreciation to wanting to learn our music has reduced in the current generation. So their knowledge is lesser, their exposure is lesser, and then how would they even know what is there to use? If each of the old composers to now, there are 60, 70,000 pieces of literature, some Sringara Sahitya, which you could use it in some other form. Would they get exposed? So that is the challenge. And the last part, of course, is in our subject is very much based on classical music. So very happy to, like Vishwanath Garu would use classical kritis. We used quite a bit of that subtly. So there, one of the main songs is Guru Leka Etuvanti. So Tyagaraja said, without Guru, there is nobody. How will you find the path? But in that Karukaina Hrudrogamulo, so the teacher is teaching Kama Krodam and all such bad Hrudrogams, mental illnesses. Teacher will help you get past. But at the same time, he's looking at her with evil eyes. So I wanted to bring the contrast in that situation. We used Purandaradasa Kritis as well in one situation, just to cover what Vishwanath Garu would do, to bring in those kind of music rather than modern song being rewritten or use that. So we did use some new lyrics for two songs, but most of our songs are traditional, just to show what completely inspired by Vishwanath Garu.
Mm. Okay, Vishwanath Garu never shot abroad, even while, there at that, at the later stage of his career, there was a lot of there was a fad about, getting these scenes in, Switzerland and these icy mountains. But he was never tempted to take, the locale outside his Krishna Godavari region and the sacred geography of our country. He was very particular that, our temples, our local geography is represented. But being abroad, you yourself, your movie is set in the US, and right now, India has a bigger diaspora than any other country in the world. You form a very large portion of Indians being abroad. So your contribution is very significant to art and culture, and a lot of youngsters are learning music and dance, especially in the US. So given this, what do you think is the role of non-Indians in promoting culture and tradition, and what is the crisis that teens or youngsters face in terms of identity and their connection to uh, Bharat? Because one expert said, we all have a sense of community, especially connected to language. So the Telugu community will be together, the Kannada speaking community will be together, but do we have a Bharatiya identity as such?
Correct, correct. And I think that is the key, right? The Bharati identity, which at least one generation of people, maybe if I can call myself sandwich generation, who moved and they have kids growing up here and they face that, right? We don't want to lose that. And you bring up many different beautiful points in this question. I feel there has been a huge increase in the numbers of India-based population from various states, especially South, uh, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and of course Kerala. And then some of them are very talented. They pursued art forms in India. Then they came here for various reasons. Their spouse moved on H1 visa, or whatever, or they did not get much opportunities they had to pursue. So their talent base has been increasing a lot. The third aspect is there is growing population of youngsters here. Like in our film, we had quite a few people who are US born, who acted in key roles. They are already acting in various subjects and they are very talented. They are also urging to say, hey, where is our room here? What is our Indian American voice? And the conflicts and the subjects they deal with are very different. Unfortunately, there is no forum for them because in the Indian, when the Indian producers make films, for them, US is a cool, jazzy place where some big hero will come, like in your example, take to some hills or a lake or whatever, versus the reality of what we are facing here with the social struggles, not only identity crisis, which has been to some extent beaten up to death, even challenges like what we addressed in the problem here, loosely based on reality. So So we took situation. There are situations like that which are there. Nobody telling those stories, and there is a great room for people, Indian makers and the makers here to drive that. Like how Koreans have been doing successfully, coming up with their own stories and tell that from the Indian diaspora. I think the market has been a challenge. How do they take it to the broader Indian market and tell these stories and get them appreciated? And the challenge is because the numbers are smaller here in US, we face a struggle to release them here. So I think we are at the crux now. Sooner or later, that'll break. We'll figure out something. A lot of many ideas, new makers coming up who are driving that. I think there will be a huge change. Not looking only India as a US as a market where, oh, that's a market, let's target. There will be stories people will be telling which are meaningful and relevant to the people living here. Many issues which are pertinent to our struggles here, which are not covered in any stories. So I feel those are all opportunities for Indian filmmakers, NRI filmmakers who are here. Some are already doing it. There'll be more of it, and they will win. I'm sure they will look for forums. But did I cover all of it, or was there something?
Yeah, I think that's good. I just to take it forward from here. You have a very diverse background, which you were mentioning to me before we started the interview. You've had experience in theater, in short plays, in serials in India, as well as you have your own team and studio in the US. So, given all this experience, your cinematography of the film is very expansive, and the throw of the film is like it's just beautiful, the landscape. So what aspects of your training and experience did you bring into the shooting of this film?
So I think I learned in all humility different things from different people. My sister-in-law was a writer. I learned from her. There are many others like that who inspired me. Taking to radio or Doordarshan, she taught certain aspects of how to render a dialogue. Or I worked on different media forums like that, where I got to learn how is it different in theater? How do you tell certain thing? How do you write certain aspects versus a TV type setup versus a big screen or a small device? So different channels. So in all humility, I learned a lot working with different things there, and then we tried to use that. Also, I wanted to bring in that we had another co-director. His name is Ram, who also brought in new perspectives. He really trusted in this subject and said that he wanted me to do one role. So that's when I thought it would be good. And he brought in a different dimension of, he has experience mostly from commercial film. So he brought in saying, hey, why don't we look at it that? So we both collaborated quite a bit. So that helped. And our team also, we have very diverse team. Many of them are trained in the US filmmaking techniques. Like I went to school here in UT in learning my screenwriting. Some of them went to school here as well. So they are aware of that. And so we used some of them. Our audio and others were done by local people, like an American person. His name is Ben. So we did use sync sound. So we used some of those techniques. One thing I learned in these experiences to summarize is that how can we be optimal and be efficient rather than waste. So we were very cost conscious and tried to use how can we tell a big story with many locations. We had 7, 8 complex location, including an ICU, a very a large lake spot, many locations like that, studios, and where music lessons are taught and all that. But then we thought, how can we make it simple enough, cost effective? At the same time, how can we reduce costs through dubbing or others? Um, Many things like that. Some of those things which I learned from others help me play here better. Also, since I have a small studio in my house, I used to have a larger one in India, but here I have a smaller one. So I did a lot of the tracks here, and I used a lot of US based musicians. We had 2 musicians who helped me with the score. They are both from New York Film School. They helped out with certain pieces of the puzzle, and many others added to that score. So all of the instrumentation, violin, flute, and traditional instruments mostly are from US based,
Mm.
either US born included. Some we did use India based musicians, and we have a lot of music as you have seen. So we have used about 30 musicians across the globe, but primarily at least 80% are US based. So so bringing all of that, also giving an opportunity to the US based artist is something which I pursued, because we are here to the answering the earlier question. We wanted to get them engaged and be part of this puzzle.
Yeah. So, is there a difference between India and the US in terms of sound recording facilities, Sridhar? I mean, earlier, especially in there was a even in auditoriums in India and in music settings. I mean, there's a very big gap in terms of our sound engineering skills in India and abroad. A lot of musicians refuse to perform because the sound quality is not good enough. So slowly this gap is being, when we are now realizing the importance of sound in cinema as well as in music. It's not just the playing but also how it is perceived by the receiver. So what do you think is, in terms of technology, how does India fare vis-a-vis the West in cinema?
I think India is equally good. The same technology is available. The challenges are different. I did sync sound work even in India for certain projects, but the problem is uh, the local noise conditions may be a challenge, because traffic and others. Like, let's say if we shot some scenes in houses of friends who we begged, borrowed, or whatever. In their cases, when we went there, there was some ambient noise. We did take that ambient noise separately and we padded it up, but then we used we mic'd basically all of the artists. And as they moved around, they are free. And I feel that is the best form of rendering. But if even this interview, if suppose if you ask me this question and if I am telling it in a dubbed version, it is always fake. So the real version, you have to simulate it. Maybe best of the artists, senior artists can, but for newcomers, it's much more easier. But I think the noise condition, the other aspects like the talent issues with certain people, ability to be the vachikam, the ability to deliver dialogues, also mix of talent from different languages coming into which is a good thing in a way, but that forced dubbing, I feel sync sound is the best. It has a lot of power. And when you render it, when you're talking, it comes out of your heart, I feel.
So finally, to sum it all up, which being a musician, would it be possible for you to give us a small jhalak of your best song from G. Vishwanath Garu's film?
Um, Best song.
That
He has.
your favorite song.
I like all of his songs. They are amazing. But I like um, Inni Rasula Uniki.
Would you be able to sing for us a
Yeah.
bit?
Yeah. Um, mm, Inni Rasula Uniki. ఇంటి చెలువపు రాసి కన్నె నీరాసి కూటమి కలిగిన రాసి ఇంటి చెలువపు రాసి. Sorry, Mike, I'm recovering from cold, but that is the
So
best I could.
sorry. Yeah, but could you tell our audiences what is the meaning of this song?
Oh, yeah. So Annamacharya wrote on every aspect of life, and I think he got bored and experimented. Here, he's talking about, and there are rasis, 12 rasis, and he's talking that really Almilmanga is there in every rasi, and how blessed are you that you are able to marry a woman like that, who he has the beauty and the elegance and all the best luck and everything of different rasis as your wife, in a very high level, but very unique song. I don't think there is any other song like this ever written, but all of his songs are like that. Many are like that. It's very hard to find redundancy in his poetry.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this lovely conversation, and thank you for making this film that is relevant, hard hitting, and I hope will make things better for Shishyas in the future, because gurus of that nature would think twice before, behaving in the manner they do.
Completely. And for the parents to be aware of such situations and be supportive
Yeah,
of the children.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for doing it. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Namaste.